Hello and welcome to a thrift store makeover. So this little bargain I picked up recently, I was on holiday visiting some friends in Grantham and we did a little tour of the charity shops as we call them here in the UK, and I picked up this beauty for the grand total of £1. So I think that's a complete bargain. Absolutely love this. I can see it going up there, right there on that shelf there. But first, it needs a bit of TLC. It's needing a bit of something. So let's give it a makeover. The first thing that I need to do with this clock is to protect the little face, because we're going to be doing lots of things to this poor little clock. Well, it's going to look fabulous by the time it's done, but I don't want to get any paint on it. I thought it would be easier to protect it in the first place than to try and clean it up after. So I just used a little bit of a masking tape to mask off the face. I didn't do the whole thing, just around the edges, so that we didn't accidentally get paint on as we go through the process of altering this clock. So I start off with a white gesso, a nice big brush, because we want to get it covered nice and easy. I never used to do that, and then I watched Dina Wakeley do a live and she covered her page so quickly with paint, and it was because she was using a big brush, and it's like, duh, yeah, I should do that. So we have a nice big brush for coverage, a little brush for details. We do the front and we do the edges, and believe me, this takes multiple coats. Next time you see it, bright white, but it needed 4 coats to get there. Whilst that is drying, I am raking through all my squirreled away things that I randomly save and hoard for future projects, looking for anything that might be remotely Alice in Wonderland related. So I found a few teapots, I found that little pocket watch you can see me sort of digging from the side. Once I'd found my various treasures, I decided to give all of them a little bit of coat with the gesso as well. Basically, there's a lot to do in this particular project, lots of prep work. So I have lots of things that need to kind of get ready and will take overnight to dry. So I'm just kind of trying to think ahead. While those are drying, you can see the clock there is nice and bright white, so it's had 4 layers of gesso. You can also see my hair and head come in, and just get a bit of texture paste and add a little bit of harlequin detail to that while it's still wet. Now I also want mushrooms and I want roses, again to go with this Alice in Wonderland theme. So I've pulled out my paper clay. I feel like I need to experiment a bit more with clay. I've been watching a lot of videos and a lot of people use like foam clay, and I think that might be an idea, because the paper clay is quite pricey, but it's also really easy to use, and I'm used to using it. I've used it for a long time, and when it comes to decorating, because it's paper, it takes all your paints and everything great as well. So I form a few mushrooms, or well, I form kind of like mushroom stubs and mushroom heads separately. So we do those. Look at them all ready to go, so they need to wait overnight to dry as well. Then whilst those are drying, I also want lots of roses, which I have just done by hand. I've not used a cutter or anything. I just sort of squeeze it between my fingers till it's nice and thin, and then wrap it around and just keep going and keep doing the same thing. This was quite a long process. I literally spent a day gessoing and making clay things, and yeah, so I'm just going to show you one, because you know, you don't need to go through that pain as well. So there we go, we've got roses, we have leaves, they're all waiting to dry. Then I realised all the paints that I have were quite dark. I'm actually quite low on acrylic paints, so I decided to go to the range and treat myself to some new ones. I got a nice pastel selection of paints. I thought I'd got myself a nice bargain because they were only £1 each, so like, you know, I filled my boots and got lots of nice colours, and decided to go with blue for the clock. And as you can see, well, I don't know why I failed to record the first pass of blue, but the first pass of blue was dreadful. This paint is cheap and cheerful, it's only £1, but it wasn't particularly opaque, so that clock there, to get it to that nice bright blue, I think it took about 5 coats of paint. So yeah, I think I'll be investing in a slightly better quality for future. I wanted it to look like it had clouds, so we pulled the gesso out again and a little stippling brush, and I just sort of stippled a little bit of cloud detail onto it. I wanted the harlequin to stand out a little bit more, so once again I feel the need to put my head in shot whilst I colour in all of these little harlequin. It's quite difficult to this because it was texture paste. It was a bit imperfect, the edges weren't perfect, but I decided that there was going to be so much else going on. There's a lot going on with this, like a lot. We're not doing minimalism here. We are just going for more is more is more is more, and I love it. So I decided it didn't matter. Now, look what I scored! I suddenly remembered that Kezia had this whole set of Alice in Wonderland toys in a case. And so I found it and I said to her, darling, are you still playing with these? Bear in mind she is 13 now. Or can they be sacrificed to an art project? And she just looked at me and went, yes, you can have them for an art project. So yeah, I'm having such a good time because there's so many things that I've had my eye on for years and years, and now she's just going to get into that age that she doesn't want them anymore, and I'm stealing them. So I was absolutely delighted because although I'd made myself lots of things, I didn't think I had quite enough to make it just 100% Alice. So yeah, delighted with that. Pulled out lots of different paints. As you can see, I decided not to go with my bargains that I just got from the range. I stuck with the paints that I had because I didn't want to spend another 3 days trying to build up 100 layers on everything else that I had left to paint. So we have all sorts of things that we are painting today. So I said we probably had a full day prep and another full day just painting. So we have some MDF pieces. So these are some of the Mad Hatter MDF pieces. We had some mushrooms. Although these items were already painted, I tend to find children's toys are a little bit tacky. I wanted a little bit more shading. I didn't do much to it. I just came in and sort of painted in where the shadows would be and made them a little bit darker. The teapot that we painted earlier, I think, as I said, this was probably a freebie from a magazine that Kezia had from years ago. I decided to paint that pink, so that got a little bit of the pink treatment. I think this was the D.I.Y Weekly paints that I got. I used my paint markers to add a few spots. You can also just see in the corner there, the white rabbit, I dry brushed him in white just to knock it back slightly. Then it's the mushrooms' turn to get the paint job done. So we just paint the base of the mushrooms with this sort of like mustardy colour. Then I kind of go on to it a bit later and dry brush it with a slightly darker brown just to get a little bit more texture on those. So once I have all the bases done, I then go in and do all the heads of the mushrooms with, again, that same paint that I had used on the MDF mushrooms. So we're going to have a really nice contrast. We're going to have the 3D mushrooms from the paper clay. We're going to have the flat mushrooms from the MDF. And yeah, so I'm painting on both the outside and inside of the cups of the mushrooms. Again, I was trying to, you can see me trying to mix up different shades there. I didn't want it, although I didn't want it to look completely flat, so I was trying to get a couple of different tones into the red as I was just painting it up. I didn't want to be repainting it and doing loads. We already had a lot of work to do with the paint. I didn't want to make it even more difficult. This was one of the toys that came in the Alice in Wonderland set. It was one of the only ones that got a full paint job. Really didn't like the colours at all. It didn't go with the colour scheme that I was having. So I knocked that back with gesso and then painted it up with similar colours. Now this I'm so excited about. These glue drops are everything to me. So I watched a video by the Prickly Alpaca recently where she created a mushroom mirror, and she did it and she made bioluminescent mushrooms using hot glue. Well, as soon as I saw that, it's been my head to do, so I was desperate to do that. So after I'd glued my mushrooms together, I pulled these little glue drops off and I've got these little LED lights. Honestly, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So you basically make your little glue drop top, which will be the top of your mushroom, and glue it to the bit of the LED lights. Now the only LED lights I had were these ones, and they're kind of got really, really tiny bulbs. So I kind of bunched about 3 together to make sure that my mushrooms have a nice glow. And I am just putting, we're going to see it in a second, I'm just putting the little heads of the mushrooms onto that wire. And honestly, I think everything from now on, if I can fit lights on it, I will be. So let's give them a little test. Look at that, I'm so excited. So excited. Wait till you see it finished. Delighted with myself. So now we need to start arranging everything. We start off with the Cheshire Cat. I thought he would look absolutely fabulous sat on top of the clock. Now normally when I do a mixed media project I would stick with gel medium. Gel medium is a permanent adhesion. It has an element of flex to it which is hot glue doesn't. But just because of the angles and how difficult it would be to hold anything onto this project, the fact that hot glue dries quick just made it kind of essential for this particular project. So I'm hoping it's going to last. If not, it'll just regularly get fixed. So I started off with some cards that we have. We have multiple packets of cards in our house. I am not short. I don't know. We seem to keep getting bought packets of cards. I do like playing card games, but I don't need that many packs of cards in my life. So just kind of starting to arrange all the different elements. It did take me a while to kind of work out how I wanted things. I've not made you endure that pain of me trying to work out where everything was going to go. But yeah, I'm just gradually building up this scene. It's really textural. It's got all sorts of stuff going on, and any sort of funny edges like the ends of the mushrooms and things, I'm covering it up with the roses and the leaves. So I kind of put my main elements down first, and then I build up with roses and leaves so that there's a nice flow going across the project. And I use that technique throughout the rest of the project really. Putting that in the main stuff and then filling in. So I've got a little glass bottle. I thought that was perfect because we've got the eat me, drink me. Now my flamingo, it was impossible to get him stuck on, so I actually had to stick him on his feet on the end of the clock and then stick his beak to the side. So he is a bit wonky. He looks like he's had a few too many cocktails. But I thought, you know, the flamingo was a bit dopey anyway, so it's fine. It works. Now I kind of want these LED mushrooms to be in amongst the other mushrooms, so it took me a little while. I'm trying to arrange the paper clay mushrooms so that the LED mushrooms wrap in around the cluster of mushrooms that we had. This probably took me the longest to try and work out how it was all going to go. I also had to make sure that the wire wrapped round to the back of the clock, and so the battery pack would be at the back. I turned the lights on at this point because I wanted to see how the glow of the lights was going to look with everything. Because once I'd stuck certain elements down, I lose the ability to move the little glowy mushrooms about too much. So I want to make sure I've got that right. Finally, the feature of the white rabbit goes down, and I like him at the bottom, and we've got the little teacup. I didn't actually use everything that I'd prepped. I still have a lot of stuff that I prepped that didn't get used. The little white rabbit looked like he was floating, and I don't like that. I like all my images grounded. So we've just painted in with the acrylic paint markers a little bit of grass, a little bit of detail so he's not floating. I also had these little MDF playing card shapes which I popped into the corner, and that just sort of connected the two different sides as well. And then I added a few dots into the grass to make it look like flowers. I also wanted the roses to look like, you know, the song We're Painting the Roses Red. So I've just gone in with a paint marker and not coloured the entire rose, but coloured elements of it red, just so that I just think that is inherently Wonderland when you have sort of half painted roses. So that was an essential part of it. I did find that we'd lost quite a lot of the harlequin. You could see it peeping through at the bottom, but I wanted it seen elsewhere. So just at the end I came in with my stencil. This was quite difficult because we had so much bulk left. I didn't do the best job, so I then had to correct it using the Hoo paint markers. Thankfully the Hoo have a fine point, so I was able to draw back in the lines. It wasn't exact blue, but close enough so it looks alright. And there it is. Oh my goodness, this is going to take pride of place in my craft room. Absolutely in love. I can't believe that this clock I picked up for £1, and yeah. So I hope that you have enjoyed this thrift store makeover. If you do enjoy thrift store makers, I tried to turn the lights down so you can see the effects of the mushrooms. But yeah, if you do enjoy thrift store makers, I've been getting lots of bargains, so there'll be plenty more to come. So please do consider liking and subscribing. And if you can't wait until I make something else, here is another video of something that I have made in the past.